Well, hello. Thanks for stopping by. This is Cheap Comic Collector, and this is episode number 110. And today we're going to be doing a deep dive into some Richie Rich issues. Because I have a lot of Richie Rich. Let me show you. Let me show you this entire crate right here. There's so many that I can't get them all in there anymore. These are all Richie Rich. So I need to start reading some of those to be able to date them and get them put back into the mix of dated comics as I try to sort through all these boxes and things. So anyway, instead of doing a variety today, we're just going to kind of throw the spotlight on Richie. And we'll just get started here. Let me throw these up here. Let's see. This is Richie Rich Dollars and Cents number 2. This is from 1963. That was 4 years before I was born. So the cover is just, obviously Richie's being robbed, and the burglar is foiled by the coins pouring out of the safe. So nothing too original there, but that might have been who knows, way back in 1963, that might have been the first time that they used that gag. And actually, this first one-page comic here with Richie Rich is actually the story behind that cover. As you can see, it's the exact same scene, so they use that for inspiration for the cover. And then you have another one-page Richie Rich playing with his friends Freckles and Pee-wee, and he's late for his music lesson, and it's going to cost $100 an hour if he's late. So they go to see why, and that's why. And then we get into a story, Richie Rich in the Most Treasured Possession. And you can tell by the drawing that this is early Richie Rich. They hadn't quite decided on his look yet. And this was a fun story because it kind of throws the spotlight on his mean cousin, Reggie Van Doe. And they go to their uncle's house. They've been invited to their uncle's house because he wants to determine which one of them he's going to leave his estate to when he dies, because he has no children of his own. So he's showing them through the house and basically deciding who's going to inherit. So kind of a short story, but kind of cool. And then this strip I've never seen before. It's called Bobby the Babysitter. There's another one later in the issue. It's not too funny, just kind of nice artwork though for a cartoon. And then this one's Jerry the Jinx, who I also hadn't heard of. Again, the character design's kind of cute, a little bit different, but it's just they're not even really funny. And then you have Richie Rich again hanging out with Freckles and Pee-wee. And this one's called The Spook House. And again, it's got Reggie Van Doe in it. And Reggie's rich, like Richie Rich, but not as rich. And but he's mean. He's mean to his servants. He's mean to his so-called friends. He's mean to everybody. So his butler or valet or whoever you want to call him here is he works for Reggie, but he often kind of helps turn the tables on him when he shows up anywhere, at least in the early stories. And so Reggie tries to scare Richie at his friends with a haunted house, but the butler let them in on it and then scares Reggie away himself. So that was kind of fun. And then this gag, it took me a while to understand. It's all done in silent pantomime, and it's got little Lotta and little Dot fishing on a pier with this other guy. And the other guy's catching a bunch of fish. And then, actually, the funniest part of this story is that little Lotta has a different piece of food in every panel. Apple, hot dog, candy cane, piece of cake. Where's all this stuff coming from? And then at the end, they set up a gag where little Lotta catches little Dot as a mermaid. So I guess the gag was that they wanted to show the guy up because he was the one catching all the fish. But I had to think about it to figure that out. It wasn't really made that clear. And then you get a little Lotta gag where she's her mom asks her to vacuum the living room and Dad's sleeping on the couch. So with her strength, she just goes ahead and moves the furniture and vacuums under everything. And then he carries the vacuum away because it's too heavy for a little girl. So, and let's see. So this is actually Richie's mom in this particular story, and that looks nothing like Richie's mom looks like in later issues. So they hadn't decided on her appearance yet, I guess. The dad shows up, I think, later in this issue, and he pretty much looks like he always does. And then there's a little Dot page with, this one's actually not about dots, which is really unusual. Yeah, it's basically, she's reading comic books or something, and her dad wants her to read something useful, so she reads how-to books, and that makes a lot of noise, so he throws them all out and lets her read her comic book again. And then there's a little Lotta story where she rescues an elephant from the zoo that she thinks is going to they're going to get sent away or something. I don't know. I mean, they don't actually say they're going to kill it because it's a kid's story, but anyway, she tries saving it from the zoo, and of course it's a big misunderstanding. But in the meantime, hijinks ensue, and so on and so forth. And a couple of text pages, the Harvey advertising strips that they did back then. And then here we have Richie's mom in this story. So, continuity buff that I am, I can only assume that Richie's dad's a swinger. I don't know. But anyway, he's on his way to his violin lesson, and his dad's afraid that she's going to turn him into a sissy, and then on his way to his violin lesson, he helps people and does all this stuff and foils a thug and a robbery and all kinds of different stuff, and then he shows up on time for his violin lesson, and his dad's still hoping he's not going to turn out to be a sissy. So, and then little Lotta's asked to clean up around the house, and so she shows up her dad by asking him where he wants all the weights. Look at the dad. That's good cartooning right there. And let's see, I've seen this gag before, so I must saw this in a reprint somewhere where they want to sail their boats, so they'll go home to get their boats, and then Richie shows up with his boat. And then there's a little Dot gag where she's looking for what color she wants to paint her room, and of course this is how she wants it painted. And there's another story with Reggie Van Doe where he decides he's going to make a movie with his camera, and so they fly to the Arctic, And again, the butler valet is the one filming everything. You can see his expression here as he reacts to what Reggie's saying. And he kind of turns the tables by filming everything. And of course, everything goes... Richie keeps saving Reggie from himself. And of course, that's the movie that they end up seeing. And then you go back to another Jerry the Jinx and another Bobby the Babysitter. And this is a long issue. This is 68 pages, so it was a giant size. And this one was a little interesting because it tells the origin of the rich fortune and how Richie's ancestor first discovered gold and oil on their property back in the pioneer days when there were, Indians and stuff around. So that one was kind of cool. A little bit of an origin story for how they got their wealth. The ever-present Harvey ads, even way back then. There's a nice little Hot Stuff ad when he was first coming out. Sad sack. Now in this one, let me go back a page and I'll show you. Pages are a little hard to pick up because it's an old comic. So, yeah, I was looking through these issues, and I saw this one called Hi-Fi Tweeter, which I'd never heard of, and I was like, I was going to look it up on Grand Comics database to see what the heck it was, but then the next page showed that it's actually, it showed it in a little bit larger format. Let me see if I can focus. There we go. And it's actually a issue of Sad Sack's Funny Friends, featuring Hi-Fi Tweeter. So it must be some guy that they invented for the role. And then we got Little Dot again. Focus once more in Spotty Trading. And this one, her dad's trying to figure out how to buy a station wagon. And she ends up trading a spotted frog for a spotted chicken, for a spotted sailboat, for a spotted bicycle, for a scooter, for a car. And then she actually ends up with a station wagon. So it's amusing. A couple more text stories. That's 4 for that issue. That's quite a bit. And then another Richie Rich in he meets the richest man in the world and his son. So that was interesting because I always thought Richie Rich was the richest kid in the world, and his dad was the richest man in the world. So apparently there's somebody even richer. And so the son is basically bored because he's so rich and his father gives him everything. And it's, kind of little bit of a morality play. And that was the end of the issue. It was a good issue. I liked it. It had a couple things that I didn't know about the characters, and it was okay. And then we have Richie Rich Gems. This is number 2 from 1974. And get low to this cover. I've shown these before when I got them, but just the covers. And that's just a cool cover, guys. For Richie Rich, come on. That's better than a lot of the Scooby-Doo covers that you see. Unfortunately, the story that it's based on did not live up to the cover at all. But we'll get there. That's the last story in the issue. So, got some ads. And then you've got the Contest of Courage, where Richie's butler, Cadbury, is going to his club of butlers, where they're having some kind of courage challenge. So this fat guy here, he drank like gallons and gallons of tea, so now he swooshes when he walks. And this guy tried staying in a shed, locked in a shed with 6 skunks for an hour. And the skunks run away swearing. And this guy tried to stay locked in a cage with a gorilla, but the gorilla likes him. Which, of course, scares the heck out of him. And then Cadbury is going to try and climb the impossible cliff. And manages to do so. I guess there's a part 2, actually. So there's a one little gag here where the chauffeur is getting the car checked out at the auto place, and he's also supposed to stop and get Richie's mom. So this is what Richie's mom actually looks like when they finally decided on what she was going to look like. And yeah, so he's also supposed to stop and get her doctor's results of her checkup. So, and then they get the papers mixed up. So, and then it's back to Cadbury climbing the mountain. Richie's afraid he's going to fall, so he goes and get this giant magnet to help him climb that will enable him to just be pulled up without any metal in his pocket, in case he has any metal at all in his pockets. So, but Cadbury saw what he was doing and took all the metal out of his pocket, so he did it on his own anyway. Hooray for Cadbury. And then we finally come to the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, which is what the cover is based on. And artwork's a little bit different in this one, so I'm not familiar with it really, any of the Harvey artists anyway, but you can tell when there's a difference a lot of the time. So Richie meets this kid here. He's they're at an archaeological dig in India or somewhere, and so this guy's trying to scare him off from the tomb, and there's a mummy, and they get chased a little bit, and then they figure out that the mummy's a fake, so they grab his bandages and twirl him around, and so they spin him, make him dizzy, and of course it's the guy that was trying to scare them away. Really pretty simple for such an elaborate cover. And then there's another text story. This one actually features Richie Rich, which is unusual. They didn't usually do that in the Harvey comics. Ad for Casper down there. And then another story, Richie Rich and the Safety Inch. So they've invented some kind of like personal body shield that you can turn on and off where nothing can touch you. And Richie takes it for a test drive, and so the bully can't hit him, and the dog can't bite him, and the pickpocket can't get his wallet, and then he stops a car from crashing into a little baby, and so on and so forth. So, and that was the end of that one. These are kind of simple. They're meant for kids, definitely. But here's another cool cover. This is Richie Rich and Casper number 2 from 1974. And this was fun. More for the art than maybe necessarily the story. But if you like the cartoon art, this has got some good. Actually, I give a lot of credit to the colorist in this story because it's pretty cool. So the evil wizard has blocked out the sun. And so Richie can see it, Casper can see it, and Wendy comes and finds Casper. And this is the coloring that I liked. Very, very nicely done. Very nicely done with the muted tones because of the trying to see from the light of the lantern, and just especially for a Harvey comic, just very, very good. Very nice art, very nicely colored. A lot of good talent worked on this story. So anyway, this evil wizard that lives on the top of this mountain is demanding everybody's most valuable possession to return the sun. And he's not happy with the junk that the denizens of the enchanted forest are giving him. And so they're trying to figure. So then he demands the most valuable thing in the world. And Wendy brings out her pocket crystal ball so that they can see what the most valuable thing in the world is, and it shows them Richie Rich. And so they know that, Richie Rich will know what the most valuable thing in the world is. So Casper goes into the crystal ball. And then that's the end of the first part. There's a couple Richie Rich gags here. There's one with Dollar the dog. And then there's actually this one says Richie Rich, but he's not actually in it. It's just his dad. So, and then Casper appears in Richie's mom's earrings after going into the crystal ball, and he hops out because he figures Richie can help him. And Richie thinks he's dreaming whenever he sees Casper. It's just a dream adventure and it's not real. He doesn't think Casper is real. So, and that's an ongoing thing with the stories where they team up. So they get the most valuable diamond in the world out of the vault, and then they go to give it to the evil wizard at the top of the mountain, and the wizard drops the diamond because it's bad luck to look into it, which they established earlier, and it breaks his mirror, which is what's blocking the sun. So everyone's happy. The sun is restored, except for the wizard. He's not happy. And then the ever-present ads. And then there's another Richie Rich and Casper team up in the back. This one is the Guardian Ghost. So Richie's going to go explore a cave by himself, which he knows he's not supposed to do, but he's going to anyway. And Casper tries to persuade him not to go by doing things to block his way of getting there. But he manages to get there anyway, and then he gets trapped with his foot in a crevice, and nobody knows he's there. Casper doesn't know what to do. And then it takes a break and goes to a 2-page story about an airplane that needs a place to land. And then it's back to Richie being stuck. Casper goes and takes Richie's place so people won't panic and know that he's missing, which is kind of a dumb thing to do when you think about it, if you're trying to rescue him. But it was kind of funny how he manages to take Richie's place. He puts on one of his suits, and then he takes one of his mom's wigs and cuts it to look like Richie's hair. So he just looks like a pale version of Richie Rich. So he goes through his boxing lesson, and then he goes back to help save Richie. He manages to get his foot loose while Richie's asleep. Richie wakes up. He never sees Casper throughout the entire story because Casper just stays invisible. And that was the end of that issue. And boy, this is running long for just being Richie Rich. I didn't realize the stories in these would take up this much explanation. But that one was a giant issue. So, and then this is that Richie Rich that I got a while back. You guys saw it. I really, really liked the cover, and I was disappointed because the issue's incomplete. It's missing the centerfolds. So, but I really do like that cover. So maybe someday I will find another copy or the centerfold. But in the meantime, the cover is actually based on the gag in the first story, just like that other one was. And basically, he loses power, and all the TVs get blown out except for the ones that make a giant R. I don't know why that's supposed to be particularly amusing, but there it is. And then we got another story with Reggie Van Doe. This one, Reggie's pulling pranks on Richie, and he thinks Richie's going to try and get back at him. So Richie is trying to initiate Reggie into the Junior Adventurers Club or something like that it's called. And but Reggie thinks it's just him trying to play a practical joke on him. So when a mountain lion shows up, he's not scared of it. You know, he goes ahead and jumps into holes he shouldn't be doing and stuff like that. They encounter smugglers that take them prisoner, and Reggie thinks it's all a practical joke. So there's that. And then Richie and Gloria get a hold of some fake movie prop furniture that they can hit each other with, and it just breaks away. But then Gloria uses our real chair on Cadbury. So, and then we have a Bullwinkle ad for Cheerios. Easy and I were chatting a little bit about the Hostess ads and what other products could be used in that way. And so here's an actual example of that being done with Rocky and Bullwinkle, which I believe were sponsored by Cheerios when they were on the air. But anyway, there's that. And Richie Rich and Never Lost. So Richie and Gloria are out exploring the estate once again. And Richie, she's wondering, how Richie doesn't get lost. And there's phones all over the estate. And he's got some special gizmo that points to wherever the nearest phone is in case he ever does get lost. And then she says, well, what if? And then the centerfold's missing, so we don't actually get to see the last part of that story. And then we jump into the middle of a little Dot story where somebody's dreaming about being married to Dot as a grown-up, and there's dots all over everything, and there's little Dot as a grown-up. And she's putting dots on everything, and it's driving her husband completely up the wall. So that was kind of amusing. Didn't quite know what was going on at first since we didn't see the first part of the story. And then the text story features Little Lotta and also Little Dot, it looks like. And it's got the Casper ad and the Sad Sack ad. And Little Lotta and her weighty problem. Little Lotta's been asked to a dance by Chubby, and her dad won't buy her a new dress, so she has to lose 15 pounds in a week so she can fit into her new dress. And she manages to do that. But then the dance is canceled, so she starts eating again and immediately gains it all back. And then he shows up anyway because he's going to take her to the dance at his parents' country club. And she tries to put on her old dress, but rips it. So she has to dance with her coat on while they're at the dance. And that's the end. There's one little ad strip here, too, for Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So, Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I never really... And that one's from 1965. It's issue number 39. So, I never really got into chocolate cereal. Every one I've ever tried I didn't like. And I like chocolate, but just chocolate cereal just tastes weird to me. So favorites. Oh, favorite cover is definitely the one with the mummy. But story-wise, probably Dollars and Cents, just because it had like the origin of the rich fortune. And it had the different moms. I thought that was kind of funny. So thanks for watching, guys. Tomorrow, excuse me. Tomorrow we will get into the comics I got at the Comics Den garage sale. So going to be multiple episodes featuring that. And tomorrow will be part 1. So see you then. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.